Welcome to another edition of the Ratitude Podcast. I am beyond excited to welcome our guest here. But before I do, I've got to tell you how I met Anil Gupta. I'm not sure if he remembers. It was a few years ago. I was on a Croatian yacht cruise, which, by the way, I'm going next week and going to see Anil afterwards in Sicily. My friend Matt Morrow and he had this idea. His friend Shad said, there's some Russian guys on a yacht we got to go meet. And so we left our cruise to go meet these Russian yacht because it was supposed to be like a super yacht. And I go, I don't know about this. This is kind of like dangerous. But we went and we got there and it was a little bit kind of sketchy. But someone said, I was wearing my love button and said, oh, you're Coach Rad. You're the guy with the love buttons. You got to meet this guy, Dr. Love. And I go, I don't know who Dr. Love is. And they walked me around and we go to see Anil, and his family was there. And he was such a loving man. It was like love at first sight for the two of us. We embraced. I gave him one of my love buttons. And then the most amazing thing happened. His son was there with a girlfriend, and I started talking with them. And Anil, I don't know if you remember this, but I ended up asking them if they were married, and they said no. And I said something like, would you like to be married? And they said yes, or the woman said yes, that your son wasn't so sure. And we went to the end of the pier, and I did a fake wedding with them. Do you remember that?
I know there was something going on. I didn't know he had a girlfriend, so that was all news to me.
Well, you told me that, can you hypnotize him, because you found out I was a hypnotherapist, can you hypnotize him to have babies because you wanted grandkids?
I don't recall that, but it sounds like me.
It was a funny story, but that was my introduction to you and your story, and we're so honored to have Anil Gupta here. Dr. Love. We're going to learn about love today, and who doesn't want to learn about love, right? So, Anil, welcome to the Ratitude Podcast.
No, thank you for welcoming me. And I was just with Chad 2 weeks ago, so that small world.
Like I said, we're going to be seeing each other just in a couple weeks after my next Croatian yacht cruise, where I'm going to be teaching Dr. Joe and some new things. And we've got a mutual friend, Giuseppe, who's put together a 2-week cruise tour in Sicily. I've never been to Sicily. And I think actually in one place, we're actually even roommates.
Yeah, we are. And I'm looking forward to that. I'll show you my love.
Yeah, me too. So, Anil, how did you become Dr. Love? Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, they actually call me the Love Doctor.
Oh, the Love Doctor. Okay, sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It's all about relationships. And, I've been helping so many people in their relationships. And then someone just said, hey, it's the Love Doctor. And I thought, oh, that sounds kind of cute.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. And then someone else started calling me. Then I just assumed it. So it was just by pure accident. Someone called me that, and then someone else called me that. And then I thought, oh, I like that. So it all started from that.
But how did it start? Like, what's your background? Are you a relationship coach? Are you how did you develop?
So I really consider myself a relationship mentor. A relationship has many facets, and we need to know what those facets are. And we need tools, methodologies, practical protocols that we can immediately apply. So I used to be an optometrist in London, and I would have patients coming in, and sometimes we'd have spare time at the end of the exam, and they would just ask me a question about something going on in their life, and I would give them an answer, and then would come back and said, that was amazing. And I said, of course it was. It was obvious to me what the issue was. But I didn't really realize that was coaching. I just thought it was common sense.
Yes.
And then later on in life, I realized that common sense isn't that common. And that what I was seeing was something that they couldn't fathom. And then, after attending many conferences and events, I realized that that's my genius. That's my gift. I can see things that people can't see, and I can come straight to the point. And that allows me to create massive change in just a few moments.
So in going back, how did you have that gift? Is it innate? Is it you had great role models and parents or other people? Like, where did that gift come from, do you think?
I really don't know. I don't question it. Basically, I'm just a conduit. I can see something, 17 steps ahead. People can say a few words to me and that triggers something in me. And it just gives me that clarity because I don't judge people. I just listen deeply. And this is something that we need to do in relationships. We need to listen to ourselves, listen to our partners, listen to the people that we love so that we can lead a richer, fuller, happier life.
Yeah. It's interesting because, kind of the sort of my theme of our Gratitude podcast is to delve into the minds of really incredible people to see how they developed so that it perhaps gives clues to other people in various areas of their life. Well, if I want to be a relationship mentor, or if I just want to know more about relationships, what kinds of clues might there be so that I can develop maybe the listening skill? So how does actually someone develop listening skills?
It's really very simple. Just listen and keep on listening and notice, because a lot of people are listening, but they're listening to reply. So they're not really listening. And the secret to finding your mission, purpose, and passion is to find what you love to do and what you're good at. And that's what I did. I started doing events, 6 people, then 10, 20. Eventually I spoke in front of 10,000 people. But I just followed what was giving me joy. And if you follow what's giving you joy and what you're really great at, and ask yourself this question: what is my gift? What is it that I can do really well, which to me is effortless, which to other people takes effort? And that will give you clues. And awareness is the master discipline, Robert. You need awareness to give you clarity. Clarity gives you focus. Focus gives you action. Action gives you results. Results gives you momentum, which gives you everything. So awareness is the number one key. Practice, it's just a muscle. Practice listening, and speak less, listen more.
Yeah. It's interesting. A couple of years ago, I was dating a woman that literally could not stop talking. Everything in her mind had to come out. And I was trying to be so kind and loving, asking her to listen more. And I remember someone saying, there's a reason that God gave you one mouth and 2 ears to listen twice as much. And she heard that. She goes, oh, okay, I'm going to do that. And then just continued to, everything came out of her mouth. So if you're with a partner that doesn't have that kind of awareness, is there anything that you can do to try to get them to listen?
There is, depending on the situation. And, there's obviously some history behind that, and it's really asking a great question. So if you have a partner like that, say, honey, I love you, I care for you, I honor you. Could I ask you a question? Why is it important to you to always be speaking? Are you aware that you are always speaking? Where do you think that comes from? And what is it you're seeking, And another great question, Robert, is to ask your partner, especially if they're a woman. See, women want to be loved, men want to be respected. Ask your partner, what could I do to make you feel even more loved? What could I do to make you feel even more loved now? What else could I do? What else can I do? What else can I do?
Yeah. And
once you start doing those things, the need to speak is reduced, because at the end of the day, we do everything for one reason, for the feeling it gives us. And if your partner feels full of love, there's no need to say anything. There's no need to continue talking. It can just fill her with love. And when she's filled with love, it's that feeling that she's seeking.
Yeah. You said a lot of cool things there that I'm going to try to remember each one of these things, because
you were listening. So that's great.
Oh, yeah. That's something that I've learned to do, especially when I was with someone that talked all the time. But, in your work, so is this your work? You're speaking up to 10,000 people. You're no longer an optometrist?
Yeah, I gave up optometry in around 2001 because I realized that wasn't my mission and purpose and passion.
Sure.
I enjoyed it, but I knew I was there for a greater purpose. I didn't know what it was, so I just started to follow what my heart was telling me and what my gut was telling me. And I just started doing things that I love to do. Yeah. And that's the secret. Just realize that you don't have to be on the path you're on. There's a brand new life. And especially if you find, what your gift is. And then when you find your gift, it's effortless and frictionless, and it's so much easier for you to show up the best version of you.
Yeah, I did that. I was a chemical engineer. I worked for Exxon for 25 years.
Wow.
And then I quit to become the high school track and cross country coach at Thousand Oaks High School, and eventually became the head coach at Pepperdine University. That was my passion.
Wow.
And so
that's incredible.
For people in our audience, Anil and I, maybe we're good role models of just giving up our chosen career that we may have chosen, or maybe our parents might have encouraged us to, go a particular path. And then we went in a different direction, which was following our passion. And that's what Raditude is all about, is following your passion. So I love that you just said that. So when you chose to do that, had you already advanced where you were able to financially take care of yourself and your family, that you're no longer going to do that? You're going to follow this relationship mentorship?
Actually, Robert, I was suicidal in 2008. I'd lost everything in the stock market, real estate.
Oh.
And my wife said, "What do you love to do?" And I said, "I love to help people." So she said, "Why don't you do that?" I said, "What about the money?" She said, "Honey, I don't care about the money. I didn't marry you for the money. I married you for you. I want you to be happy."
Yeah.
So that's how it started. It wasn't about the money. It was just about getting peace and changing my thoughts around hurting myself. And in the moment I started serving people, Robert, a beautiful thing happened. When you serve someone authentically, all the pain and suffering disappeared.
Yeah.
And I felt good. Then I just processed that and continued on a beautiful journey after that.
Yeah. So how did you get started? I mean, you had, if I hear you right, you had just this almost innate ability to think 17 steps ahead and to give common sense advice that wasn't necessarily common sense to people. But you also mentioned some different kinds of trainings. What are some of those kinds of trainings? How did you maybe then develop or advance your ability to have the right things come out?
So it's very interesting. A friend of mine said, "Anil, you've helped me, you helped my wife. Why don't you do an event?" And I sort of looked at him and I thought, and he said, "Anil, what's going on?" I said, "Well, I'm kind of scared." He said, "What are you scared of?" I said, "Look," and his name was Louis. "Louis, what if no one turns up?" And he said, "Anil, if no one turns up, no one will know." And I thought, oh, great, because I was so concerned what other people thought of me. Yeah. And the first event, I was so scared because I'm very intuitive, but I'm not organized. So I paid someone to do the event with me so that I could get the structure. And then the second event, I could get the structure again. And my wife said, "Honey, they're here to listen to you." I said, "What do you mean they're here to listen to you? They love the way you speak. They love your interventions." And I thought, oh, okay. So then from there, I started doing my own events. And the secret is, Robert, it's just to be you. Let go of the ego, let go of the thought processes, just become the best version of you. Be so amazing. This is one thing that changed my life. Be so amazing that you cannot be ignored. And if you are ignored, it doesn't matter, because how you show up will be this magnificent soul. Yeah. And that's what I did. I started speaking on stages, 10, 20, 500. People would ask me, "Hey, we've got a slot in 10 minutes. Would you like to speak?" And I said, "Yes." "Would you like to speak in front of 10,000 people?" "Yes." I had no idea what I was doing, or felt I didn't have, but obviously I had the skills. "Would you like to do a TED Talk?" "Sure." And this is what Richard Branson taught me. Always say yes and work it out afterwards. So it was a beautiful experience. And the great thing, and you've experienced this, is that when you help people, the feeling you get is immense.
Yeah. Now, did you yourself get any additional training, or it just came from inside your heart?
It came from inside my heart. It came from experiences that I'd gone through, since childhood. I was born in Africa, lived in London. Now I live in Florida. I've been through many ups and downs, and it's because of those ups and downs I was able to become who I am. And, I'm not a therapist. I have had no formal coaching training. The only training I've got is results. if you come to me and you speak to me, you're going to get the results. That's the only training I've got, is just helping people. So no formal training. I tell people I have a PhD in results.
Okay. Well, one of the things the first time I really heard about relationship kinds of strategies was from Tony Robbins. And one of the things he talks about at Date with Destiny is that the first important thing is selection. 95% of the issue is selection. And then he goes through and describes 3 different things that you should consider in your selection process. Do you have some thoughts about selection and what people should be looking for, or what you should be doing around the selection of a partner for a relationship?
Absolutely. The success rate or the failure rate in relationships is 90%. And the reason is this: people say yes to a relationship until it becomes a no. And what they have to do is say no to a relationship until it's a yes. What I mean basically is this: if you're looking to buy a house, you wouldn't just buy it on the looks. You would do the due diligence. You'd check, the appraisal, the valuation, the inspection, location, neighbors, hospitals, or you do your due diligence. Then you would make an informed choice. But most people will, meet someone, they have a few drinks or they do something together, and then all of a sudden they're in a relationship, but they haven't really done any due diligence. And then they think, oh, okay, this seems to be working okay. It's fine. But they haven't curated it. And they say, oh, they're looking for chemistry, but that's the wrong way to do it. The right way is to get the data beforehand and then make an informed choice based on 3 criteria. And the first criteria is the person that is your potential partner must have integrity. Okay. The second one, they must be loving, not just to you, but to everyone, and not just transactionally when it suits them. And the third one is they have to be healthy emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally, and financially. Now, the beautiful thing about this formula, Robert, is that you can back test it to previous relationships, and you'll notice that the ones that have failed at least 2 or 3 of those criteria. But at the beginning, you just fall in love, or you love their company, or you love their adventurous or playful or fun, but you haven't collected the data. But if you do it my way, and my daughter did it this way, her first boyfriend she married, and he's a 12 out of 10 because she knew what to look for. And it saves a lot of pain and grief, and it doesn't bring baggage to the next relationship.
As you're talking, I'm just sitting here going like, I wish and I've heard you say this before, I wish I would pay attention. I must not be listening very well, because the first thing I thought about is your analogy with the houses. I mean, literally, I bought a house now a month ago, and I wasn't even looking to buy a house. I just walked into this place. My daughter and I, on a Sunday, we were going to go look at some open houses in the afternoon, just sort of for something to do. And I walked into this house and I go, this would be kind of cool. And I bought it that day. And the same thing happened a year before, on my daughter's birthday, June 14th. I wanted to live in Santa Barbara, and I was driving around and found a real estate sign with a placard on it. And I looked at it. It was this lot. And I walked out in the lot, and I just felt this is where I'm meant to be. I literally didn't do very much due diligence with either one. Now the lot, I've found that it's the longest permitted project in the history of Santa Barbara County. Someone has been trying to permit this for 66 years unsuccessfully. Wow. And I bought it because I just believe that it's mine. I've fallen in love with it. And I met with some of the neighbors yesterday, and the neighbors all upset about someone wanting to build on what they think is their property, where they park cars, where they have barbecues, and it's my lot. And the same thing with this house. I go with gut feel. And I've done that in relationships too. And you're exactly right. I didn't really do that. And I even have a relationship coach for the last 8 years that tells me this all the time. And so
Wow.
how do you take someone like me that is a faller and lover instantly and get me to actually slow down and do due diligence?
Well, there's a process, and honestly, Robert, it would only take 3 to 6 months to get you into a beautiful state and to get mastery, because, there's nothing more important than having a relationship. When you've got 50 years of relationship ahead of you, why not make those the best 50 years of your life?
Yeah. What do you mean 3 to 6 months? I want instantaneous results. That's the way I work.
Of course you do.
Well, I'm going to give you 2 weeks in Sicily.
There you go. I'm on vacation in Sicily, but yeah, happy to talk. You've already gotten the basics, the structure, in that you have to get you have to get your due diligence, but there's a process on obtaining that due diligence and filtering it out and looking for alignment, and the way you ask questions and the way you process everything. And of course, if you're selling your house, you wouldn't just put it on the market. You would clean it up, you would tidy it up, you'd fix things, so that you have to work on yourself as well to attract that beautiful soul. And the beautiful thing, Robert, is this, that with this process, you won't be looking, your partner will come to you, because how you show up will be so much more different. And it just happens organically, without you having to swipe, without you having to go through the dating. See, the dating system is so stupid, because what happens when you date, you have 2 actors on stage, each one trying to be the best version of themselves, and you're not really seeing that person. So they get married and they stop doing that. So you're getting 2 actors on stage. So my process teaches people how to find the partner, where to look for him, how to filter them, how to be with them, and without dating, because then you can be you, they can be them, and then you can see them for their real selves, so that when that relationship matures and they get married, they just continue being, not doing. And I think that's a big distinction.
Okay, so you've mentioned a process, and I know that you said it takes 3 to 6 months. Maybe that's because of me, but can you somewhat summarize the process, the Love Doctor's process?
Yeah, so it's called the Smart Select system. And, we go through the 3 criteria: integrity, loving, and healthy. But we go through all your previous relationships and find a common pattern. Once you realize what the pattern is, and once we do basically a forgiveness exercise to remove all the past, so that you have a fresh start, we go, where would you find this person, what to look for, what to say to them, how to approach them, or how they would approach you, and filter them, ask, detailed questioning, but not in a aggressive style, but in a way that will enhance that communication, because it's all about communication. So for example, let's role play, and I meet you for the first time. I would say, hey, Robert, what do most people say when they meet someone?
How are you doing?
How are you doing? What do you do for a living? Yeah. Okay. That's small talk. So, for example, if I was a lady, okay, and you asked me for my number, what do you think I should do?
I think you should give me your number.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I was coaching a lady, I would say never give your number away. Okay. Why? Because then as soon as you give your number away, you lose power, because you're sitting by the phone waiting for someone to call. But then, if they ask you for your number, maybe that's not the type of guy that's right for you, because, a man with integrity, loving, and healthy wouldn't approach you that way. He may approach 10 people and hope to get lucky with 6 or 5 or whatever. But the person that would be right for you wouldn't do that. So, that's interesting. And keep away from charismatic men, because they always want attention, and if you don't give it to them, they'll get it somewhere else. But you can have someone with charisma, which is different. So these are all distinctions, and I teach people about react and response, the meaning they put behind things, why they're looking for that particular type of person, what's been going on, why they're making previous selections. And forgiveness is a big part. Forgiveness is the express pathway to freedom.
So what's the difference between a charismatic man and someone with charisma?
It's really the ego. So a charismatic man always wants the attention, whereas someone with charisma doesn't need the attention. He knows he has it. He can turn it on and off, but he's not looking for external validation. It's a big difference.
Yeah. That's interesting. I wonder what I am.
You have charisma, and you are charismatic, but you don't live in that charismatic state because you're always serving other people.
Yeah.
Well, so that's the difference. You're not looking for validation. You're looking to serve, but you're an extrovert. I'm an ambivert. So
I'm not an extrovert.
Oh, okay, interesting. So you're an ambivert like me.
Yeah, I was such an introvert until I went to that very first Tony Robbins Date with Destiny event. And I was scared to death. I mean, at that time, my wife's cousin invited me to go. It was between cross country and track seasons. So I go, okay. And I didn't even know who Tony Robbins was other than the guy that he hypnotized Jack Black in the movie Shallow Hal. And I went there and, I was just sitting there. And all of a sudden, Tony comes out, everyone starts yelling and screaming and dancing. And I just kind of cowered down. I was trying to figure out, how do I get out of this place? And Tony said something that was so important and pivotal in my transformation. He said that many of you don't know very many people, if anyone here. And so take this opportunity to maybe try out being a different personality. And I was looking around at all these people having fun. And I go, I haven't had fun most of my life. I've been the guy in charge of everyone having fun. I've always been the team captain, the manager, the president, the chairman, whatever it was. And I made sure people had fun. And literally, I didn't have fun until that very first Tony Robbins event. And I became kind of an extrovert. Now you called it, I thought it was an introverted extrovert or extroverted introvert, but you called it something else. What did you call it?
I call it ambivert. So basically you're an introvert, but you can step up to be an extrovert, but you don't want to stay there.
Yeah, that's that. If people look at my Facebook, no one believes me because, I'm in this process of branding now so that more people would come on my trips and things like that. But in general, what you described, ambivert, is exactly who I am also. Yeah.
It's a beautiful place to be because you're not looking for external validation, but, when the calling comes up for you to serve, you have to be that extrovert. You have to show up the best version of you.
Yeah. So fascinating. One of the things that I remember, again, Tony saying, he was very influential as I've got now several mentors that don't know that I'm a mentee, but that if you want to be on a spiritual journey, get in a relationship. And I find that more and more as I become more conscious of my unconscious.
Yeah, and awareness is the master discipline. You need to, awareness gives you clarity. Clarity gives you focus. Focus gives you action. Action gives you results. Results gives you momentum, which gives you everything. You cannot be in love. You cannot be successful. You cannot be joyous without awareness. So that's a discipline. And, a relationship brings up a lot of awareness.
Yeah. Now, I assume that you have a wonderful relationship with your wife?
I do. We've been married. What's today's date? Okay. So it's, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June. 35 years, 9 months, and 14 days.
Okay. So now you have all these skills. Did your wife also have these skills, or did you teach her, or did she teach you?
She actually taught me. Her capacity for love was so much higher than mine. And I'll tell you one particular instance. I'm going to get tearful. It was November 2008. I went up to the hotel bedroom, and that was the day I'd lost everything, the final straw. And I said, "Sit down, honey." She said, "What's going on?" I said, "Sit down. I have some really bad news to tell you." She said, "What's going on?" I said, "Look, honey, I've done something really bad. I've lost everything, the house, the car, the school funds, everything. And, Robert, she looked up at me, beautiful brown eyes, and she smiled. I was so confused and upset, everything, all sorts of feelings. I said, honey, did you not hear what I said? She said, honey, I heard what you said. You've been behaving really strangely recently, and I thought it was something serious. I said, what do you mean? There's nothing more serious than this. What are you talking about? She said, honey, I thought you had cancer. I thought you were dying. I don't care about the money. What? And in that moment, Robert, I thought, holy shit. She's right. And then she said, you have me, we have the kids, and we'll sleep in the streets if we have to. And Robert, when you have someone like that behind you, supporting you, it's like rocket fuel, and that's how everything happened. So she was incredibly loving. Her capacity to love was enormous, and she taught me so much.
Yeah. Well, that's beautiful, and congratulations. I think that, many people, especially when they're young and they're first starting out, have no clue of how to be in relationship. I mean, I certainly did. I didn't even know to have date nights. I was off working and my wife was taking care of the kids, and it was like we had separate lives. And, we played sports together. That was our connection. But we didn't even have a date night. We didn't know how to communicate. We didn't have any of these kinds of skills. We didn't have great role models. People need to listen and study with people like you. What are you doing now? Are you working with people one-on-one? Do you have events now with 10,000 people? How does my audience learn from someone as brilliant as you?
Well, thank you for the kind words. I've stopped doing events after COVID because people are getting used to Zoom. They're getting used to virtual conversations. So I'm doing a lot more virtually, and it's basically one-to-one. That's, you get very powerful and very quick results with that. Although I'm starting up a group coaching program very shortly on helping people, especially singles, find their partner without dating. And, we weren't given a toolbox. We weren't told how to have a relationship because we learned, and our parents didn't know. They just, did what they thought was right. But if you have a toolbox and you've got 30 or 40 or 50 different tools in there, it can change everything because you don't have to get upset. You don't have to react. You don't have to be in a mood. You don't have to be, reactive. And you can be more loving, and then your capacity to love and be loved increases. So people just don't have these tools and they don't know how to use them. And that's what's missing. It's such, for me, it's such an easy process because I do it every day, teaching it and opening people's eyes like, oh my God, that's what I've been doing wrong. And then all of a sudden, it's not just that intimate relationship, it's all the relationships, because this is the common denominator, and then it affects their business, it affects their relationships, it affects their friendships, beautiful thing is it affects their impact. So everything's connected.
Yeah. So how does someone work with you? How do they contact you? How do they find more information about you?
So the best way is to email me. It's Anil, ANIL @meetanil.com. And if you're suffering or you have an issue with your partner or you have an issue with your kids, again, this is all about relationships, and you want rapid results and you want lasting results. Let's just get on a call and see if we're a match, and then I'll be happy to help you. And my results are guaranteed. Every call that we make will move you forward. And Robert, I'd like to, offer a free session with you because, you're a beautiful soul and you deserve to really be in a beautiful state with a beautiful partner.
I am in a beautiful state.
Yeah, perfect. So halfway there.
Yeah. So if you had to, give one piece of advice here, kind of as we close up, one piece of advice to our audience that is, and I'm going to give you the full gamut here, in a relationship, looking for relationships, not in a relationship, whatever it is, one piece of advice that you'd like to leave our audience with, what would that be?
When you first started dating, the relationship was 100. Ask yourself, Are you giving 100% to this relationship, or is it transactional? And ask yourself, what did I used to do that I'm not doing now? What could I do to make my partner feel so loved and respected and so honored? And just do those things. And remember why you started that relationship. Focus on the good points. Don't focus on the negative points. And this will make the difference. It makes the difference. This will add more years to your life and more life to your years.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Anil Gupta, it's been pleasure having you here on our Gratitude podcast. I look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks where we're going to be on vacation. And thank you very much. I appreciate you and I love you.
Yeah, I love you too. Thank you for inviting me.